Guys, welcome back to the game number 5 of our Hunter series. Right now playing against the Mage, one of the more favorable matchups as a Hunter. That's going to sound weird, someone that likes to play against the Mage, but the Hunter is actually a fairly good Mage killer. It's because the reach that a Hunter has is often from the hand. Yeah, for the mulligan, we didn't have a 1 or a 2 drop, you guys know. Then we do a full mulligan. Even though Animal Companion is a premium 3, don't keep 3 drops if you don't have a 1 or a 2 drop yet. So going back onto the Mage matchup, why is it decent? Because mages usually control the board, you know, around that turn 7 flame strike. Is that usually as a hunter you've dealt enough damage up to that point that you can finish it with your hero power or some reach from the hand. Unfortunately, we have a less than favorable mulligan here, but there's plenty of 2 drops in the deck. There's a fairly good chance we'll draw one, and we always have the freezing trap as a backup. Now we do draw the fairy dragon. Good stuff. Get that fairy dragon out there. We do have the Shattered Sun Cleric, so should our opponent play a 2-3, then we have a really nice punish here, just putting the Sun Cleric on and taking it out. That'd be really nicely. That'd be really nice. So our opponent's going to coin out a 3-drop, probably Spider Tank or Ogre Brutes, but no. Okay, so the reason why I said probably Spider Tank or Ogre Brute is because a Spider Tank or an Ogre Brute makes sense to play it against the Fairy Dragon. I assume his hands must be terrible that he has to coin out a 3-3 versus a 3-2, because you are literally just giving us a mana advantage. You are throwing your coin away and say, here you go, sir, here's my 3-3, you can take it out with your 3-2, so that's pretty good for us. He has a pretty slow start. We could Shattered Sun Cleric here and trade. That's what the mana dictates, or we could Shattered Sun and go face. But something that makes more sense to me is just to quick shot it out of the way and then go 3 face. And then you still have your Shattered Sun Cleric for next turn. To me that makes a lot more sense. Yeah, I mean if you Shattered Sun and go face, you can still kill it. And then you have a 3-2 on the board, I agree. But I feel like the Fairy Dragon is just a really good minion, because he can't frostbolt it, you know, he can't target it with spells. So wait, I'm going to see where that Sorcerer's Apprentice came from. That was his top deck, right? Okay, cool. So just to make sure that he didn't have that in his hand last turn. So yeah, pretty good for us. We do draw a Glaive Zukai here, which is absolutely amazing. You know, you can put the Glaive out, put the Freezing Trap out, face into Sorcerer's Apprentice, and then connect for 4 face damage. So so far we are really far ahead, making good use of our opponent's slower start. Something you have to do in the arena. Capitalize on weakness, and yeah, he had to coin out an awkward 3, and then he had to play a 2-drop on turn 3, so not really great here for him. And now he has to play a Spellbreaker on our Fairy Dragon. You can see that it takes him quite a while. I can remember this, like, it takes him quite a while to make that decision, because it's painful. You're putting out a 4-drop to be killed by a 3-drop. That's pretty annoying. The best thing of all is that we just have a Flame Juggler, so if it hits, we can take it out. Now, it does miss, but I mean, we don't have to kill it because we have a Freezing Trap out. This is what Freezing Trap does. Now, some of you might say, ah, Shady, but you can't let that Spellbreaker get frozen. He can just silence again. I'm like, go ahead. What's he gonna silence? He's gonna silence my Fairy Dragon back down to 3 damage. Ooh, I mean, use your 6 mana Spellbreaker on that. For me, what is important is that this Freezing Trap allows us to ignore that minion and deal another 4 face damage, which, as you guys have seen in the previous clips, is like you have to capitalize on a lead on the board. Sometimes you just have to deal that extra face damage, sometimes you have to clear the minion. If you don't have a Freezing Trap here, I would have probably used my Arcane Shot and my face to kill it, and then Hero Power and deal 3 face. But because we have Freezing Trap, we can go ahead and develop the minion, because the minion can deal face damage next turn as well. So right now we're in a premium position to close out the game in 1 or 2 turns. We've got 9, 11, 13, got 15 damage that we can deal next turn. But here's Cone of Cold, one of the better cards against the Hunter. So yeah, Cone of Cold and Blizzard are the two best cards I feel that a mage can have against Hunter. It slows him down pre Flame Strike. Here we just have to develop the Houndmaster because our board is totally frozen. We can't play around. We can't play around Mind Control Tech. We need to put pressure out to kill him before Flame Strike. But he had a Cone of Cold into a Blizzard, which is ridiculously good. It's really something that you can't play around as a hunter. If you play around Cone of Cold and Blizzard, you might as well just concede. Because, I mean, if your opponent is going to Cone of Cold into Blizzard and you didn't put stuff out on the board, the chance of winning is fairly slim. Now we did put out that Houndmaster, so at least it's 2 mana that he has to invest in pinging it. So he heals his face, puts it down. It's honestly, it's looking fairly grim, right? We've got 2 mana worth of cards in our hand, and our opponent has a 6 card in his hand. He's on 16 HP, but we do draw a Pit Fighter. Pit Fighter, great minion here. It's the top end of our curve, so it couldn't have come at a better time. Ball of Spiders would also not have been a terrible draw here. So here we are essentially counting. We're saying like, okay, how close are we to closing out the game? If we Abusive Soldier the Ram Wrangler, it's 5 damage. If we Hero Power as well, that's 7. Here he goes to 9. If we put our face into his face, he goes down to 7, and we still have Arcane Shot in the hand. So essentially here we say, okay, let's do it. Let's just go face with everything. Put him down to 7 HP. You might say, Shady, why do you use your Glaive Zuka? You can just cash it in whenever. There's a couple reasons. If he ends up playing a Taunt, we still have 3 turn lethal with our Hero Power and the Arcane Shot. If he ends up having an Ooze or whatever, we can play around it. And if we draw another Glaive Zuka, we can actually use the charges rather than having to wait until we've used the first Glaive Zuka. Right? Pretty decent plays from our opponent. He has more freeze. You know, freeze is really annoying for a hunter. Frostbolt on the Pit Fighter, pings our little guy away and then kills our other minion, so not so good. King's Elec comes in, great minion to draw here. If we win the Joust, that's some extra gas that we need, and we do end up winning the Joust, so very good cards, the King's Elec. Happily picked it over Bullfist Ogre, no regret there. And then, you know, we just Hero Power and Scarlet Crusader. This is the point that when a hunter has lost board, that is kind of plan B that you revert to. Plan A is, of course, to crush him on the board and then close out the game very fast. If you do get hit by Cone of Cold Blizzard, you're probably not going to crush him on the board. It's probably not going to happen. So what is plan B then? You try to whittle away with the Hero Power and put enough stuff on the board that your opponent has to deal with everything, because he's on 5 HP. If any of our minions connect to his face, he's dead because of our Hero Power. So we just put out more problems that he needs to solve while we are just shooting him in the face every turn. Because if our opponent is killing our minions, he can't kill us. So I mean, if any minion survives, we have lethal. So we'll see if he ran out of removal or not. Or if he has more taunt or heal or whatever. Alright, Chillwind Yeti. Especially the Divine Shield here is pretty annoying. It soaks up another 2 mana to kill. It's always that awkward moment watching your opponents, like, can he save himself? Can he not save himself? So gotta see what happens here. But yeah, I feel like a fairly good recovery from that Cone of Cold Blizzard. I think the fact that we played that Ram Wrangler for tempo, that was kind of the tipping point. Oh, well played. Looks like we got it. Nice. GG well played, guys. 5-0 Hunter. Good stuff. Good stuff. The fact that we played that Ram Wrangler for tempo allowed us to have 3 damage on the board. It allowed us to use our Abusive Soldier to go face, and that's extra 5 damage. If we didn't deal 5 damage to him that turn, I mean, we dealt more, right? We also used Glaive and our Hero Power, but if we hadn't played that Ram Wrangler, I think we would have lost. So just to showcase how we, when you're behind, you can't get greedy, right? You have to just push, you have to claw at the game and say like, oh, come on, we're going to try to close it out. And yeah, we got there in the end. So good stuff, good stuff. All right, guys, I will catch you all tomorrow. Thank you all for watching. Have a nice day.